Look at this spring I got. Oh, there goes the spring.
Hey buddy, Croooow back again. I'm back talking about the Amico. I wanted to do a follow-up to the video I put up last week that said I was still looking forward to the Amico because that was a video I did before the, what was it, the Intellivision Amico special event. That was the name of the video. And I kind of intended to put one out afterwards with my kind of thoughts on it. So really, this is just really a laid-back video. I wanted this to be really laid back. This is actually the second time I'm doing this video, because the first time I did it, I went over everything in that presentation of it, and I wound up talking for over 30 minutes. I was like, no, I want this to be around 10 minutes. So I'm going to try and do that. And I already know the people watching this are either gonna, you already decided whether or not you think the Amico is a good idea, or you like it, or there's something about it that you don't like. You've already decided that. I'm not here to change anybody's mind on that. So the deal was that this Amico special event was supposed to take place on August 4th. They had two videos kind of leading up to this event saying, mark your calendars, August 4th. August 4th came, and I was kind of, it's lunchtime at work, and I'm kind of preparing to watch it, and all of a sudden, I get an email, and Tommy Tallarico shows up on the Intellivision YouTube channel saying that the event was delayed. And the reason he gave was that the event was delayed because there was a bit of information that came in at the last minute, and it had to be included. He just could not leave it out. But I don't know if that's entirely true or not, because I got a story, I don't know if this is true or not, that the reason the video didn't go up on time was because it didn't render in time. Now, maybe it was because they tried to add this last minute information in and they didn't have enough time to render it properly, or there were some render errors when they tried to render it. The whole thing, I mean, and it's not the only event that's ever been delayed, but to be very last minute like that, it kind of did leave a bad taste in my mouth. I mean, because, you for 2 weeks hyped up this event for August 4th, and then just at the last minute to have it delayed. I mean, really, it's not that big of a deal, but really, it really didn't sit right. So then yesterday, as from recording this, was August 5th, and that's when the event video did go up. So I did watch the event video, and then later in the day, Pete from Open Every Box invited me onto his Amico All Access podcast. I don't know if it's a podcast or just Amico All Access. So at around 5 o'clock my time, so at my time it was noon, that video went up, and at 5 o'clock I went on this Amico All Access, and I talked a bit. So that was pretty much the Amico events I'd seen and were involved with yesterday. So as for the presentation itself, I don't want to go over every little detail, every little game that they showed, but the whole presentation as a whole, came off to me as twofold. There was two reasons for this event, and the first one, right off the bat, Tommy's on screen. And I'm glad it just wasn't Tommy sitting in his room talking for over an hour, because that wouldn't have looked that great. But there was a lot of Tommy in that video. It was at least a little professionally made. They made it kind of seem more like the kind of thing a Nintendo Direct would be, where they would have somebody talking and then they would cut to either a game or somebody talking about a game. But I don't think the focus of this event was really the games. There were a couple, they did focus a bit on some games, but I think the focus was that, well, firstly, the launch date is changing. Tommy really wanted this launch date to be 10/10/2020, and I could never figure out why he was so adamant about that date. Maybe it was just because it was 10/10/2020, but he did give a reason in the event video. I'm not gonna go into that, and I was like, oh well, okay, so that's why he was so forward pushing that date. Even when he would go on interviews and people would say, hey, is COVID going to delay, is the lack of being able to get parts and everything, is that going to delay the Amico? And he would say, no, well, it's possible, but I'm still really shooting for that 10/10/2020 date. So he gave his reasons for that. But the new launch date is April 15th, 2021, so it's pushed back a good 6 months. I know some people were disappointed by that. Some people are pointing at that and saying hey, they weren't really ready. But honestly, it's how could you have to give them the benefit of the doubt. COVID and the disruption of supply chains everywhere are what is really causing this delay for the most part. If we look at even the Sony PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X, I think that the reason why there's no price or release date set for those even is because of COVID as well. I mean, if it wasn't for COVID, we would have had E3 and we would have known several weeks ago a release date and a price. And I think that even not even having an E3, and I think, you know, just complicated with the fact that Sony and Microsoft are playing chicken with each other, I'm not even 100% sure that those systems are going to be launching this year. Even though they put out trailers showing games saying being released in 2020, those might have to change, I don't know. And I'm saying this as I think there's a PlayStation State of Play presentation sometime today. I don't know when it is. I was looking more forward to this Amico event than I am anything that Microsoft or Sony are putting out these days. And again, they may announce something in that. I'm not sure. I'm not holding my breath. Every time I go into these PlayStation events, they never tell me anything I want to know. All right, I'm breaking into this video right now while I'm editing it because I realize I never got to say the second point I believe this Amico special event was for, and that was to show how many people are actually behind the scenes working behind Amico. It's not just a handful of people in a bedroom or a closet or whatever. They're working on it. There's dozens and dozens, maybe even hundreds of people working on the Amico and the games, getting this product to market, and they're just showing how serious they are about it. So just a couple negatives I had when I was watching the presentation as a whole. Some things they talked about so quickly that before I'd even realized that they had moved on to the next subject. For example, Tommy was talking about Major League Baseball. They were having a license with Major League Baseball they were going to put in their baseball game. And I was kind of curious, what kind of baseball game are they going to put out? Is it going to look more modern, or is it going to look like the old Intellivision baseball game where you can see the whole field at once, for example? And before I even realized that he was already 2 sentences into talking about cornhole. So some things just didn't seem to get their time. I mean, if it's going to be in the presentation, you should really, I think, talk about it for more than 5 seconds. Another thing is that some of the games were talked about way too long. For example, the whole Evel Knievel game went on for way too long, and part of that was because he interviewed the son of Evel Knievel in that presentation, which I don't really think was necessary. I don't really know if that's the game that should be hyped up, especially since it was brought to my attention 4 months ago when I made that video that had that game in the presentation, that, hey, this game's already available on mobile, and it's just going to be a port to the Amico. And the only thing that really makes it exclusive is multiplayer, I believe. And I still want to download that game and try it out. And speaking of downloading games, I completely skipped it over. But on the 4th, they put out an update to the Amico Club app, so you could play the full first level of, what was it? Moon Patrol. I don't know why I couldn't think of the name of it for a second. So I did try it out. It was kind of funny because I would play it and I was like, shoot, and I'd put it down, and then a little bit later I would get the itch to play it again, and I'd try it and get a little bit further, shoot, it'd die, and I'd put it down. And so it's got a little bit of an addictive quality to it. But again, it being on a phone, I don't know if that helps the Amico cause, because people would say, well, I could just play it on my phone. Why don't they just make this a game for the phone? So you have to see if the actual Amico controller improves it in any way. And speaking about the controller, I did kind of wish they showed off more features of the controller. I mean, you had the Bomb Squad presentation. It actually didn't show Bomb Squad, but it kind of did go over the features of the Amico controller and how all those features would be used in Bomb Squad. The one thing I wanted to know, and some people have told me, no, that's not possible, but I'm not 100% sure, is when they were talking about Breakout, which is being done by the same people who did the Bit Trip games, which made me even more interested in the Breakout game. He brought up the fact that, hey, we've got this dial on here. You could potentially use like a spinner. He didn't actually say that, but I was thinking, It's like, hey, can you use that dial like a spinner? And if so, that would make all these games that use a dial infinitely more playable on the Amico than any other console. So that's one of the really interesting things I'm looking forward to hearing about the controller, is how can you use this controller in a variety of ways? Because, be honest, that is the most interesting part of the Amico to me, is the controller. Because I'm glad they didn't go with a standard controller, because that would just not make the Amico stand out so much, I think. And you could take that as a positive or a negative, however you want. So my favorite part of the whole video was when Tommy was standing there and he had the whole Amico dissected and the controller dissected. He was, hey, here's the circuit board. Hey, there's a little running man on there. Hey, here's a controller. Here's a spring. Let me turn the system on. Here's me using the controller. And I know he did that very specifically because of incidences in the past, like the Amico Chameleon, where they were trying to fake having the system built. And he did it in a pretty comical way, so I thought that was pretty funny. But I know he also did it because there are some people out there that, if he didn't do that, would complain and say that, hey, this thing really doesn't exist, and he didn't show us anything. So I think it was something they had to do, especially with this 6-month delay. And then one of the last things he showed off was Earthworm Jim, and I honestly didn't really care to see anything about Earthworm Jim until it was more of a game, in a gameplay state, because what they showed was just a little teaser of the art style and Earthworm Jim walking off a beach, and that was pretty much it. We really don't know what the game is going to look like otherwise. I like Earthworm Jim as a character. I never was really too into the games. I remember renting the first one and having it on Super Nintendo. I renting it and playing it for a couple days, and not really thinking that this was a game that was a must-have for me. There are some other people saying out there that this is a game that must be, that a lot of people are looking forward to the Amico, and I'm just not that way. It's these other games. It's the retro reimagined games that are the reason I'm looking forward to the Amico and the controller. Plus, I don't know how an Earthworm Jim game would, or any platform for that matter, would work with that Amico controller. Those types of games I feel would be better suited to a console with a regular D-pad. So maybe I'm wrong. I have not touched the controller in any way. When the game does come out, I'll probably get it anyway, just out of curiosity, and the fact that no game is going to cost more than $10. But later on in that Amico All Access, Smash JT specifically asked Tommy about Earthworm Jim and if that was going to be a launch title, and Tommy just flat out said, no way, that is not going to be a launch title. They're aiming for Christmas 2021 on that one. And again, that's not a date set in stone either. But honestly, as a whole, this whole event, I didn't really see it as a negative. And looking at the thumbs up and thumbs down ratio on YouTube, I feel like most people felt the same way. It's got a 90% thumbs up ratio. So overall, so that's pretty positive. So do I think the Amico is going to be successful? I really don't know. Honestly, it's not for me to worry about. I'm just going to get it and play whatever comes out on it. That's it. It's not for me to worry about if it's going to be successful. That's the bottom line. I'm just taking a laid-back approach here. And if you watch any other videos on the Amico, you would know that the success of the device doesn't really matter to me. I'm looking at it like something that's different. Some people think that that's overpriced for that. Some people are going to be disappointed that, this should have come out in October. But to be honest, I do fund a lot of stuff on Kickstarter, and very rarely do things come out on time. There's a controller that's finally being shipped to me that I kickstarted several years ago, that was promised to me 2 years ago, and I've been waiting for this controller for 2 years, and I'm probably going to hate it when I get it. But we'll see. It's too late to turn back now. I'll make a video on it or something. So yeah, I probably rambled on for longer than I intended to, I'll try to spread the Amico videos out, seeing as how it's not going to be out for like another 8 months. I mean, it's possible it could come out earlier. Tommy did say that the Founders Day editions would be released on April 3rd, a couple week or two before April 15th. And the reason they picked that date was because 4, 3, 2, 1. And I think 4/15 for the release date was specifically chosen because it's tax day, and a lot of people get refunds. So I think that was the thought behind that. And yeah, that's all I'm going to say. I like to ramble on, so I'm not going to ramble on any more further. Let's end the video right this minute.